Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm Steve Haeffer, Commander of the American Legion Post 268, and the great people who belong here. It's an honor to have some of our elected officials join us here today, and certainly an honor to have Lavar Arrington here, especially since his father, Michael, is one of us, a veteran. We are also really happy to have the Eagles' great Lito Sheppard here also. We are here today to talk about the importance of veterans organizations and how skill games are helping nonprofit clubs financially, especially at such a hard time like we see now. With the cost of everything going up after the pandemic, the games are still important for our members. American Legion like family to them. It is a place where they can go to share their stories, their concerns, and how they know each other have had similar experiences. It was hard for everyone when COVID shut down places like ours. I know people felt like they lost something important in their lives when they couldn't come here. And while we are happy to be open again, the remnants of COVID are still with us. We are still struggling financially, and revenue from our skill games literally help us to keep our doors open. It's that simple. People who don't think that revenue is important should talk to me and our members. The Saturday before last, we had a family fun fair. We also have different events throughout the year to help generate funds to keep the club operational. Skill games help veterans. I am glad we have elected officials here to hear me say that. And now I would like to introduce one of our local elected officials, Senator Gene Yaw.
Thank you. I guess I should start off by acknowledging or noting the fact that I am a veteran, and I know that we're few and far between in the legislature. I was asked to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 950, which I sponsored, and Senate Bill 950 is a complete top-to-bottom version and writing of a law governing skill games. And let me tell you a little bit about skill games. Since I've been in the legislature, skill games is the only industry that has asked to be regulated and taxed. Now, I gotta tell you, usually we hear just the opposite. Here is an industry that says we need to be regulated, we want to be regulated. Let me tell you just a little bit, if you don't know, the difference between skill games and games of chance. Games of chance that you play maybe like a slot machine have a pre-programmed outcome. You can get up, you can dance around the chair, you can do whatever you want to do when you're playing those games. It's not going to change the outcome. Skill games are very, very different. They're interactive, and you can change the outcome if you're good enough. Now, quite frankly, does it take some skill, eye-hand coordination, and are you going to win every time? Probably not. But you can if change the outcome. And that is a major, major difference. One of the other things that's a major difference between skill games and the so-called the other games out there, and I think the commander hit on it. To play skill games, you have to show up. You have to be here in person. We all know that that is very, very important to American Legions, to VFWs, to social clubs, any place where people congregate, and that's really important in today's society. We can play every casino game, every lottery game. You can be on your phone right now playing a lottery. But you cannot play skill games that way. You have to show up in person. It leads to another point I want to talk about a little bit. The lottery and casinos, I get a lot of feedback from them, and like, oh, your skill games are taking money away from us, and taking money away from senior citizen programs and all this, that type of thing. The interesting thing, which I don't understand at all, is that both the casino and lottery industry have had record profits in the last 2 years. So every time they start whining about, well, you're doing all this and you're doing all these bad things, that's kind of a hollow argument, in my opinion. And as I said, these games are very, very important to operations like the American Legion, the VFW, even some convenience stores depend on them. They are community-based operations, and that's why they're so important. We hope that Senate Bill 950 would move. This year, it's in the Community and Recreation Committee. The likelihood probably is that we're going to be looking at next year to reintroduce it. I've been told we have 9 legislative days this fall. 2 of them are non-voting, so that leaves 7 days, and that's not a lot of time to do this. But I would encourage all of you to take a look at Senate Bill 950. It's from top to bottom. It's regulation. It's how games are approved, how they're regulated, the licensing, taxing, everything is there. We've tried to cover it all. And this is a very, very upfront and industry and transparent as to what we want to do. And as I said, it's the only thing that I've been involved in since I've been in the legislature where there's an industry says, please regulate us. With that, I'd like to introduce my friend, Congressman Dan Muser. We were talking a little bit earlier, and we both ran for office in 2018. Now, we didn't run for the same office. We ran for different offices. I fortunately was successful. He was not quite as successful in that overture, and he admitted that. We talked about that. But then I had a chance to work with him. He was Secretary of Revenue under Governor Corbett. And then in 2018, he was elected to Congress in an adjoining district. Now, with redistricting, he will become our congressman after the November election. So it's with great pleasure that I would like to introduce to you Congressman Dan Muser. Thank you.
So, Gene, I really appreciate those words. Good morning, everyone. It is still morning, right? Very, very nice to be here. Thank you. Man, take care. Lot to be said for that. Thank you, Avery. Now that I'm looking better. Now that I'm looking better. You got my back. You got my back. Yeah, as Gene mentioned, we'll be representing Muncy and this portion of Lycoming as well as Williamsport. I very much look forward to that, Commander. I look forward to getting to know you better, supporting your veterans, and I'm a member of a number of American Legions, VFW, so I hope to become a member here. Hopefully you let me in.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that. We're here talking about games of skill and their importance to first off to the Muncy Legion here. The importance is can't be overstated. The funds that come in are not terribly much, but they do make a difference. They bring value. They give the veterans and those that are members here another reason to come in and spend a little bit of time and wage some dollars that they do have. And anything that is supportive of veterans, I find is certainly in my scope as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. I did serve on Veterans Affairs in my first term, and we passed a number of good acts during the Trump administration, from the Mission Act to the Choice Act to the Improve Act. Recently, we passed the burn pit legislation and added additional legislation for those in the National Guard to access the GI Bill. So we're continue to move in the right direction, and this is a small part of it, perhaps, but a very, very meaningful part of it. I also get to work for small businesses. I'm on the Small Business Committee. Games of skills games play an important role for many, many small businesses throughout the district. And in these days, folks, there's not all that much that from a regulatory and taxation and government side where it seems to be on the side of small business. So it's really important from that standpoint as well. I mean, Mealy has added over 100 employees just over the last several years. I mean, tremendous for our community. And we also, the manufacturer of the Pace-O-Matic plays a big role throughout our state, and we have many of their representatives here. So I'm just very happy to be here, to endorse what's happening here, to support the VFW. And now I have the honor of introducing, who needs no introduction, this somewhat large guy behind me. You know, he made a name for himself in Pittsburgh. I think he was pretty good in high school. I think he was rated the top prospect in the country before he got picked up by the one and only We Are Penn State. Had a pretty good career there, All-American, about to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, the College Hall of Fame. Was second-round draft choice for that team down in Washington that I see from time to time. But the reason he's here, on top of all that, because his father served in Vietnam. And that's just, service is not, it's certainly about the veteran. It's certainly about the individual that's making the big sacrifice, but families make that sacrifice. That's what's so important about this organization, so important that all members, Republicans and Democrats, will continue to support our brave men and women in military and, of course, our veterans. And therefore, I'm very honored to be here, Commander. I appreciate that very much. But with that, Lavar Arrington.
Thank you. You want to use this because it was set up to be used. So you want to grab it. Thank you to Congressman User, Senator Yao. Appreciate you. Commander, you are the man. Appreciate you. Commander Haeffer. Listen, I heard a couple good things there. I interrupted the congressman to make sure that his garb was correct, and he used a statement that was very, very, very relevant to why I'm here. And I keep it on my chain and I keep it on my wrist, and Dan happens to be here. The saying, "I got your six," which is a military term for "I've got your back." It's very important for me to be able to come out here and have these opportunities to give back and bring awareness to what skill games are doing. There's so many different narratives that seem to come about in terms of describing it and the discussions surrounding it. But if there's one thing that you really cannot discuss or debate, is the relevance and the importance of what our service members, our military, our veterans, our small businesses. I don't think there's any debate on what they represent. So for me, I'm super happy to be here. As you also heard the commander state so well, I am a military kid. Now, I didn't join the military, but I tell you, if I wasn't good at ball, I certainly would have served our country in that way. It's a family tradition. My father, my father's father, and my father's father before him. So it is a legacy deal. Most of them served in the Army. I do, however, have uncles that served in other branches. it's very competitive. So I'll say Navy, and also I'll say the Air Force, but generally the Army is the dominant group in the Arrington household. So you get shamed a little bit if you understand military. You know the competitive nature between the branches. So I'm kind of pro Army. So. So if you don't know my story, my father, he was in the Vietnam War, and he was injured really badly. In fact, at one point he was clinically considered gone, had passed away on the operating table while doing his duty in Nam. They were ambushed. One thing leads to another, and my father is on the ground, and his legs are damaged horribly. And if there wasn't the idea of not leaving one behind, I'm probably not here to talk to you guys. But because one of his colleagues, one of his comrades pulled him in, he lived. And for that, I have always been forever grateful for what our military forces represent. He raised us so well to be people of honor, people of integrity, and to represent something good. So me being here today in Muncy, and him not being here, which he's reclusive, you know, he's kind of like a monk. He reads a lot of books. He's very spiritual. He's an ordained minister. So he comes out to go to church and to mow his lawn. He mows his lawn still. 68 years old, still mows his own lawn with prosthetic limbs. So he's a pretty awesome guy. I tell you these stories obviously because it's when you have these types of conversations, there's the idea of the political side of it, and then there's the humanistic side of what this represents. And I tend to believe that one can't go without the other. So it's a beautiful thing to have a congressman and a senator here to support what's taking place, because you can't make something work without having all of the elements of the team in place for the game plan to work. My part of this is I enjoy being able to give back and contribute to small businesses, to VFWs, fraternal order places of coming together. There's so many things that I would love to do, and I got to be honest with you. My impact, I would not be able to have the impact that I have if I did not have the support of skilled games like Pace-O-Matic and PA Skills and other places, different names, but the same goal, the same belief, same approach. It's one thing when you do business and you create business and you generate revenue and your bottom line looks good and the company as well and does a lot of things. It's another thing when those companies make it a priority to serve their communities, and that's something that I've always taken a lot of pride in, is being able to serve our communities. And once I started working with and teamed up with Pace-O-Matic, that was 100% the reason why I've been so excited and have been so bullish on going to so many different places to basically spread the word, preach the gospel, however you would want to say it, about what this company and what they do, what it represents. We could talk about and focus in on the skill games and what makes that different from gambling. For me, I tend to focus in on the content of the character of the people that represent the company and those lives that they impact and they affect with their generous nature and what they do with their success in these communities. So it's been very important for me to have that opportunity. I get emotional sometimes because I know how important having extra income, extra revenue coming in for these places has been. Obviously, you have to have a business model to be able to have this parking lot, to be able to maintain the building, to be able to do the things that our VFWs, our service members, what they do in our communities and how they impact it, not just to have a place to come and be, but what they do for the youth, You know, we're here. The Little League World Series just concluded. You know, the impact that our small businesses and our fraternal orders, their impacts and what they're able to do. So many other things. I mean, talking about Dave, which Dave Reagan is here from Veterans Promise out of Scranton. You know, they save lives. You know, if they're being funded, a check from anyone that is willing to contribute and donate goes towards saving a life. And I think that far exceeds any type of discussions or debates as to right or wrong. We're talking about men and women who have supported our country in a way where we're able to enjoy the freedoms that we have every single day. We can be here today, and I believe that's a beautiful thing. So I'm pretty much done. I would say this, I would urge everyone, and I think it's awesome when the media shows up to collect the content of these things that take place, because it's just very important. I think I shook at least 20 hands in the airport on my way here. I make it a point to always thank our service members and our veterans. Once you've been around long enough, you know them when you see them. Every once in a while, it'll be someone who has a stylish backpack, but for the most part, backpacks give it away, just so you know. Those are pretty authentic. I shook about 20 hands. I think it is important that we really not only focus in on what skill games represent, but what it represents as it applies to the people that truly matter to us in our country. That's the special, obviously our special forces and our small businesses. So I'm gonna bring up my guy. He's obviously a juggernaut and a legend in Pennsylvania. You know, I had to call in some favors to get him to come out here and hang with me today. But he's here, one of the GOATs, Florida legend, a Gator. You know, I had bad experiences with the Gators, but that's all right. You know, we are in Penn State territory, so I know you guys will forgive me. So there's a we are, right? But I'm gonna bring my guy Lito Sheppard up. He's been a part of this as well, and I'm so excited that he's been so supportive of what it is that we represent, what we do within the community as well. So there, we'll bring up Lito.
Well, I appreciate it, guys, for definitely being here and being able to give my support and just a story about the impact that the PA Skill Games has had in the different communities. Like you mentioned, I'm from Florida, and they say, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, but in that same sense, it takes a community to raise that village in a sense, because it's all in one and they take care of each other. And, you know, to bring it around a little bit, we just saw the Little League World Series in Williamsport, you know, this past weekend. And that just made me think about, you know, places like the VFW and other small local businesses that really donate to those local teams for support and allow them to be able to take part in such a great event in that manner. And we just want to definitely highlight, you know, that point that we're being driven through bigger entities to give back to our community, and we just want to make sure that that's not, you know, undertoned or just taken for granted in that sense. Like I said, many Little League teams are supported by our local level restaurants, bars, veteran groups, and fraternal orders. Some of those places receive revenue from the skill games, and we try to make sure that we give back to the community. And when we say that, we give back to the locations that produce from the skill games in their community, which is why we're here today. And we're definitely going to highlight that again. You know, the money makes a huge difference for these teams and local businesses to be able to continue good giving in the community. They can buy uniforms, you know, like you say, keep the lights on in some of these VFWs where the participation might not be as high in some states and areas. But from a skill game standpoint, you know, we always just like to try to make it known that the ground level operations is where it begins and where it stops and starts. And with you guys' local support, it makes it beneficial for everybody and makes it even able for us to be able to come here today and give you our testimonials and basically just our support. And like I said, I'm not going to take too much time, but it is definitely a blessing to be here, to be able to try to give back to the community and just be a representative of a positive influence and growth in our communities. And I just want to tap my hat off to everybody, and we all are doing a very great cause here, and we just appreciate the continuous support for PA Skill Games and our local small businesses. So appreciate you guys. So with that being said, we definitely want to show you guys our gratitude and appreciation, and I'm going to let Lavar finish this up right here.
Commander Haeffer, step up, please. Step front and center, sir. On behalf of PA Skill, Pace-O-Matic, Lito, myself, and everyone that supports your fine establishment, we'd like to donate you a $10,000 check on behalf of all of us that I just stated. And I heard that there was something that needed to happen, that needed to take place, that was of such a great concern and need that needed to take place. We want to make sure that we can help with that. So we appreciate your service. We appreciate all that you do, and we hope that this does something well for you.